GEGP. It is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Appreciate y'all pulling up this evening. We're going to have a TED Talk tonight, talking NFL draft prospects, in particular the wide receiver position. Tetairoa McMillan, the top dog at the wide receiver spot this year in the 25 draft class. Appreciate y'all pulling up. We're doing the late night joint. Moggs, what's happening with you, man? He said, hold on. I need you on CP time tonight. Nah, man, we on time tonight. The missus said, get in, get out. I think we're going to have a good conversation. We're going to have some fun. Day 3 of free agency popping off today. Shout out to Seattle. Some nice moves, bringing in DeMarcus Lawrence, get MVS for Sam Darnold. You saw Rico Dowdle go to the Panthers. We're going to talk some Carolina Panthers because there's apparently a need for a wide receiver in Carolina, and we know the Panthers pick number 8. But all the hype is around this man, or a lot of conversation around this dude right here on the screen. Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. 6'4", 210, I believe, was his official stuff. At the combine, he did not test, but come on, man, he's been smashing since he stepped foot on the college football field in 2022. Highest rated recruit ever by Arizona as well. So you're talking about a player with high pedigree, dual sport background. He talked about his background being a volleyball player and a football player and how that helps him on the football field, which I definitely think that shows up. So tonight, we're going to talk Tetairoa McMillan film. We're going to watch some stuff of Tet. We're going to talk through some comparisons that people put out there. And we're going to talk through the data, look through some numbers, and just try to figure out a different way for trying to analyze these receivers. It's something that I love to look at, to scout, to try to figure out game theory. Play defensive back in college, so I can't stand them damn wide receivers, pesky wide out. So trying to figure out what NFL teams might be looking at when they prioritize these guys on their board, or what we're trying to figure out when we're evaluating these players. So no kind of groupthink theory. I'm going to just walk you through my process and give you the reasons why Tetairoa McMillan, my wide receiver 1 in this class, maybe yours as well, is or may not be comparable to the biggest name that people compare him to. This dude right here, Drizzy Drake London, right? 100 receptions on the season. That was 9th in the NFL, 1271 and 9 touchdowns. And that's finally having a good quarterback. And then we look at what he did at USC in his final season. I believe he played 7 or 8 games in his final season, and he was dominant in 21. I know this was a while ago. 88 receptions, almost 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns in less than 10 games for Drizzy Drake. So he had an incredible final season. And funny thing is, people don't even remember he caught passes from old Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart throwing to Tetairoa McMillan. D-Bro in the building. What's popping with you, D-Bro? Wide receivers this size should not be able to move the way he does with the media acceleration he has. We're going to talk about it, man. We're going to talk about it. What else we got in the chat? Holla at me in the chat. I want to know how y'all feel about this player, but I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm going to just say it right now. I don't know if, and I've said it, man, I don't know if this dude, I don't think he's Drake London. I don't think that's the right comp for Tetairoa McMillan. I don't think he's Drake London. I think people are misremembering how he played at USC and also what he's been asked to do in the NFL. So I'm gonna pull up some numbers real quick. And I'm not a big numbers guy. I'm not trying to outnumber you or outsmart you. I got a theory, okay? I got a theory around some of the top players in the NFL, in particular the wide receiver position. So that theory starts with, what the fuck is going down in the NFL? Like, what are receivers being asked to do? What is the common route deployment? What's happening across the league? So right here, True Media, dope tool that I got. You can see I filtered this thing for all wide receivers, no tight ends, but all wide receivers who caught at least 25 passes. That's the criteria. You had to catch 25 passes to get pulled up in this thing. And I just got it filtered by routes, just looking at the different routes run across these wide receivers in 2024. You can kind of look at the top and you can see the percentage of routes run by wide receivers in 2024. Jerry Jeudy led the way with 712 routes. Jamar, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Trey Tucker getting them wind sprints out there, running a lot of routes, getting no targets, but running a lot of routes. And here are the routes over like 15% deployment, right? Just running the route, not being targeted, not catching a pass, just what are you being asked to do? Go route, of course. You know what that is? Straight down the goddamn field. 9 route, fly, go deep. Go route, 18.6% from this subset of wide receivers that caught 25 passes. You got the hitch route, 17.7%. You got the out route, 12.7%. And then the crosser right there at 11%. In break and route, 10%. Got the post there, 8%. Now, I have been on this train. Hog routes are the most critical thing. When I'm trying to evaluate a receiver, hog routes, hog routes, hog routes. Hitch, out, go. Hitch, out, go. Hitch, out, go. And then if you want to incorporate like screens, slants is 6%. Your crosses are close. Crosses are close to the out route. So it's kind of like hog dash C, but hog route. I like hog. Hitch, out, go. And if you think about this, we see it all the time, y'all. We see these routes, out route, simple, right? Just run and go out. Quick, safe throw for the quarterback. That makes total sense, right? Safe throw for the QB. Your hitch route, all you're doing is literally running upfield, 4 yards, turn around, 6 yards, turn around. It could be a stop route, 8, 9 yards down. All you're doing is turn around, catch the ball and go. And then the go route, downfield, big playability. Them 3 routes, those 3 routes are king. So what we're going to do here, and I don't want you to just trust what I'm saying, right? Oh, man, what the fuck is Ray talking about, man? This dude doesn't work at PFF. He's not the data guru. Well, let's just targeted pass route groups is all we're going to do. We're going to go hitch, because I'm talking about those routes, right? We're going to go hitch route for the targeted pass route group. We're going to go out route. We're going to go route. We're going to go those 3 routes that we're going to add to this thing here after it reloads. And we're going to look at the receivers who ran that shit the most. Like, you're just going to see which wideouts ran those 3 routes more than anybody else in the NFL. And we'll just see, like, is there something there? There's your go route. There's your hitch route. There's your out route. I got to switch this because it's doing routes. We'll go receptions here. Holler at me in the chat too. Get at me. We're workshopping through this. We're workshopping ourselves to Tetairoa McMillan. All right, we got them 3 routes up. Goes, hitches, and outs. Leader in them routes across the NFL in 2024 regular season. Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, JSN, Andre Yoshivas, Trey Tucker, Drake London, BTJ. Got some tight ends in the building. Let me get the primary position receiver. Let's get the tight ends out the group. We don't want any tight ends skewing this shit, so let's get them out of there. Boom. You see Malik Neighbors down there, 13th. Justin Jefferson, 21st in those routes. So let's just highlight Drizzy Drake London. That's who we're here to talk about. Is Tetairoa McMillan the next Drake London? So we've only got goes, outs, and hitches highlighted. So we'll take all this off, but we'll keep Drake highlighted so we could just look at what he did in 2024. Drake London in 2024. Here's his route deployment. This is what Drake was doing more than anything. 22.5% of London's routes were hitch routes. One of the big H in the hog, right? Hitch routes, 22.5% for London. The out route, 15%. So there goes the H in the hog, right? Go route percentage was lower than his in-breaking routes. So his in-breaking routes, almost 14%. And the goes for Drake London, 11%. So a little bit lower. But you got your hitches and your outs for Drake London in 2024, all right? We know Drake London, one of the better receivers in the league. Talked about what he scored. What do you have? 1,200 yards receiving on the season, 100 receptions, 1,200 yards. So we've got kind of like a baseline. Hitch, outs, goes. We know they run that a lot in the NFL. But let's pull up Tet. Let's talk through McMillan, right? I want to talk through Tet because a lot of people are like, London is who Tet reminds him of. So let's move over to this other thing. Don't ask what website it is because it's not a website. It's a portal to some shit. It's like PFF Ultimate, right? Like there is no access to it. You got to pay for it. So there is no link to this so you can look at this. But this is Tet McMillan in 2024. He ran 416 routes, 133 targets, and we get an opportunity to look at his target share, route participation, what Arizona asked him to do. And I actually kind of broke this out on a Excel sheet because it's a little easier for me to see. So here it is right here. This is all Tet McMillan stuff right here on this Excel sheet. His routes run, success rate, all that stuff from 2024. This is all Tet McMillan stuff. This is everything from 2024. So you could see, I just filtered it by successful play. Like which one of his routes did he have the most success being deployed at doing in 2024? And we could start to filter out some of the stuff that he didn't do a lot. But his in-breaking route, 66.7% successful play rate. The definition and qualifier for that is, did you pick up a first down on third down situations? Did you gain more than 5 yards on first and second? Did you move the chain, score a touchdown? So when he's running in-breaking routes, 66% of the time, 67% of the time of his 8 targets, he only had 8 targets, and 60% of the time from those 8 targets, it was successful. The slant, the hitch, and the out. Let's focus on the hitch and the out. So if we kind of filter this for how many times he ran those routes, let's do that. Go and hitch were his most run routes in 2024. Solid. Getting down the field, doing some of the shit that we see NFL receivers doing. Hitch routes, go routes, right? Successful play rate on the go route, just keep this in mind, less than 50%. Okay, 22 targets on his 83 go routes in 2024. And we know Noah Fafita was the quarterback. He had a 26.5% target share when he ran go routes, and go routes equated for 16.5% of his overall target distribution in 2024. My big thing that I'm focused on is his EPA per target. Whenever they threw him the ball on these, it just wasn't good. 195 yards on those 22 targets. It was his third highest output from a yardage perspective, which I start looking at, and I'm like, okay, these 2 routes right here, like that's where my eyes go for Tet McMillan. When they had him running shit over the middle of the field, over routes and dig routes. So it's crossers and deep digs, which are like deep crossers, right? You're like deep in routes. Over routes are like crossers. When the Arizona Wildcats asked him to go over the middle of the field, he was very good. EPA per target, 0.153 on over routes, number 1 of everything that he ran in 24. Dig routes, 1.16 EPA per target on dig routes. Again, over the middle of the field, in breaking routes, 230 of his 1,300 yards came on digs. So he had almost 400 plus yards on in breaking routes. Almost 400 plus yards on in breaking routes. When I'm looking at like the out routes and some of the quick twitch stuff, like hitches, this 79 yards on hitch routes for Tet McMillan. 51 routes, 13 targets, only a 9% target share when he ran. That should be easy shit for Tet, right? But not going to rip him too much for that. You look at the things that he didn't get asked to do at Arizona, like screenplays. Like he didn't do a lot of that. He didn't do a lot of screenplays. He didn't run a lot of flat routes. He didn't do a lot of those things last season. Now let's flip the script to Drake London. And we had to go back in time, 2021, 2022 season for Drake London. Let's just filter by what Drizzy did more than anybody, more than, what he did from a route perspective in his final season at USC. Go route monster, okay? The first thing I noticed is, here's what I'll do first. He had damn near every route that he ran outside of the hitch, the post, and he really didn't run any corner routes or drag routes. Every other route was a 50% or better successful play rate. Some of these, he didn't do anything on an in-breaking route. He didn't run a lot of that. He didn't run a lot of deep outs, but curls, flats, outs, slants, screen plays, go routes, all above 50% success rate, which is awesome. You see, here's the big difference between Tet and Drake London, in my opinion. Look at the success when they threw the ball down the field to London. 40% target share on go routes, which was significantly higher than Tet's. 1.26 EPA and almost 500 yards down the field. Like, he can get down the field in a hurry. Very, very explosive. And then when I look at some of the short shit, like the slants, I look at the screen plays, positive EPA every time he's targeted on the screen, 153 yards in that department in his final season. Like what he was able to demonstrate in limited duty. And we can go here to PFF to illustrate this a little bit more. Ted McMillan in his final season, 29 missed tackles forced, which is really good, third in the country, right? 12 games, 29 forced missed tackles. You see his yards after the catch, 5.1 in 12 games played. Average depth of target, 13 yards. Deep catches, 12. Really good stuff, right? Top 25 for Ted. Drake London in, 4 less games, 22 missed tackles forced. So he was only 7 missed tackles away from Ted in limited duty. He had more deep catches. He did have screen catches. They both were similar in the slot catches, both very high on contested grabs. But when I'm just looking at this, without looking at anything else, what he was successful, what routes he was successful on, I don't know what world or what tape y'all are watching where you think Tet's more explosive than Drake London. I don't believe that to be the case at all. But damn what I believe. Damn what I believe. Let's just watch a little bit of Drizzy. Let's watch London in his final season, and then we're going to watch Tet and some of the things that he does well. And I'm going to go to the chat as some of this stuff plays because I want to know what y'all think. I want to know what y'all think. As you see London catching stuff over the middle of the field, running with the ball. Tet's a boss, plug and play, wide receiver one. Where will Cup land? Let me get down here. London wishes he had Tet's yak ability. He could be Michael Thomas. Had Mooney running more goes. London was hampered by Cousins' noodle arm. Remember you did this similarity analysis for BTJ on the money. Listen, hey, this play by London was nasty right here. You really see, I don't, like, look at this. Look at the suddenness on this out route. We're going to pull up Tet shit. I don't see Tet breaking like London does. Right here, boom, hit the out at the 30, bam, catch it and immediately get upfield. Boom, now I'm making cats miss. And I know this is grainy. It was like 5 years ago, right? I don't see this type of explosiveness. I don't see it out of Tet. And you see London right there, boom. That right there, y'all. Like, I don't need to watch 20 plays to see that right there from London. Look at Keaton Slovis. This was back when he was QB1. King Keaton, bam, foot in the ground, get upfield, Drizzy Drake. Again, I don't think y'all remember watching Drake London in these 8 games. Right here, flat route, boom, catch it, let's go. There he is, making somebody miss in the open field. Sally Cuss said it. You did this similar analysis for Brian. The video's on the channel. All I'm looking at is, they say a lot of times in fantasy football, the best predictor is what you did before. All I'm doing is looking at what the schools asked these players to do and how successful they were, comparing that to what NFL offenses are deploying. Like, hitch routes are easy. Like, you've got to be able to be quick. This is, even if you don't run the hitch, this is the type of movement shit that I want to see after the catch. Because you got to think, hitch route, 5-yard turnaround, 6-yard turnaround. You got defenders everywhere. You've got to be able to make people miss in the open field. Here's London here at the bottom of the screen. There it is. That's a hitch route, right? Boom, get it and go. God damn it, get it and go. That's what you got to do. You've got to have quick twitch ability to be able to do that right away at a big size. I don't care what anybody says, and I am Ted McMillan, wide receiver one. He does not move like Drake London. He doesn't. We're gonna watch McMillan. We're gonna let London roll, and I'm gonna go to the chat. You're scaring me off of the 102. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. We're gonna talk through this. Don't be scared. Actually, thinking about it, he reminds me of Ridley. Wait, Ray, pause. You like what? I don't know what I said. Is Tet the Temu version of Julio, similar to AJ Green? I've made a lot of blasphemous comps. I don't believe he's similar to AJ Green at all. I don't think he's similar to AJ Green. Here's a downfield target for London. Boom, catch the ball. Let's get upfield. Right? Making defenders miss tackles. There's London. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Touchdown. Great play versus UCLA. Contested grab for London right here. Boom, big boy catch. I think Tet might be a little nicer at the high point than London, but I mean, London was disgusting. Here's London on a little over route after the catch. But just keep some of this stuff in mind. Just watch London move, and then we're going to pull up Tet's successful, like his most deployed, successful route, and just watch how he plays and wins. It's just different. They win much differently, and you can tell that by how Arizona deployed these guys in their offense. Like, you don't even have to pull up the tape. You could just look at their route deployment and their success of the routes and what the team didn't ask them to do. And it's pretty easy. There's Drake London right over in the middle of the field, just an open play, open route. So there's a little bit of Drake. Let's go back to Tet. So again, here goes the thing. Tet McMillan, very, very successful on dig routes. You look at on dig routes, it was the second highest EPA per target. Dig routes for Tet, and then you've got down here, what's this? The over route, the dig route and the over route. So the cool thing about this is we don't even have to fucking look for it, right? Here's the route tree. Boom, dig route is like a deep in breaking route. So we're just gonna pull up Tet and watch some of the dig routes and how in this incomplete and complete passes and how he plays and how he runs these things compared to a Drake London movement skill wise. And you see Ted is highlighted on the blue. He didn't catch the ball right here. So we'll find one where he gets it. He's lined up on the outside down here, fighting off of the defensive back. No target on the play. That's all right. No target on the play. These are 31 dig routes run by Ted in 2024. So we get a chance to just kind of, see everything happen at once. And hopefully the ones we look at are actually of him catching the ball and not just running the wind sprints. What else do we have in here? Tet made college ball look easy. See, this is my problem though, y'all. As this loads up, let me let this load up. This is my problem. I think, yeah, Nico Collins. He runs a lot of them. This is my problem. This expectation that he's going to come in and get 140 targets. I'm going to just, based on some of the stuff we've looked at, the tape, and a lot of NFL evaluators saying that he's sliding, I don't know if I'm pegging him to be that at the next level, and he's super good. All right, here we go. Let me pull the tape back up. Here we go. McMillan in the blue, right here working on the bottom out of the slot. They got empty formation, 3 wide receivers on the bottom of the screen. Tet's you're nearest to the quarterback. Little in breaking route right there. Nice tough grab in traffic for Tet. It's a good catch. Good strong catch. Love this. Love his alignment. Love the catch. Watch this. Watch this. Over the middle of the field. Got to be tough. Using the body. Like, look at this, right? And I think this is one of the things he does well. Like, look at his body positioning. Protects himself right there. Like, that's a hell of a catch. That's a hell of a catch in traffic. I like that for Tet. Using his body. Dig routes. You're 6'4", 210 pounds. Use your body and get over the middle of the field. Here he is in motion. Going across on the trips formation. I like this. Now they're going to bring him back over. Nice job. A little bit of yak after the catch. You'll be able to see it from the reverse angle a little bit. They're going to bring him across the field, motion him, identify the coverage, right? Somebody's going with him. We know it's man-to-man. Noah Fafita knows what's up. Nice little over route. Pick up some yards. Nice little play by Ted. Over the middle of the field. This is what he likes to do. Dig routes, over routes. Dig routes, over routes. His most successful stuff in 2024. Going over the middle of the field, which makes a lot of sense when you got a big dude like McMillan. Let me see while this one loads up. Where are we at? Where are we at in the chat? I know D-Bro's a big fan. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. But my expectations have been adjusted. The best part of that route, he slowed down in zone to stay open for the QB. Yeah. He's a smart player. I mean, you don't go back-to-back seasons with fucking, 1,300 yards if you don't know what you're doing. I think he's incredible at identifying zone coverage. I think he's incredible working the middle of the field because he is so big and body control and things of that nature. It makes it really easy for him. Makes it really easy for him being that big. Drake London is out. Tet is in. Tet could be comparable to a lot of top end receivers. He can even be Drake. Okay. All right. I don't know what that is, as we're sitting here just talking about that. But let's pull the tape back up. I think I moved the over routes on accident, but same stuff applies for McMillan. He didn't catch that pass right there. So we'll pull that back up. Back to the film. Let's get that back up for Tet. That's Arizona-Utah punt. Where we at? Let's go back to the chat real quick. Let's go back to the chat. Holy AI. Yeah, I know Tatum. I know. No, I know. That's why I stopped reading. Once I read it, I was like, he can't be serious there. Let's go back to this right here. True Media going through the routes, and I want to pull up London in particular because we didn't do this at the start. So here's London 2024. He could be London. So we went through all of the things that Tet did. Here was London in 4. Let's go filter his routes so we can see all of the shit that he did. His most deployed route in 2024, Drake London, 71% success rate, which is insane. Out routes. He had 35 targeted out routes, which was number 1 for Drake London, 28 receptions on those out routes. And just for the fantasy football people in there, was scoring you damn near 4 points a game on that route alone. 71% success rate, 2.5 yards per route run, 32% targets in that route. So when he's running out routes, whomever it was, Cousins, Michael Penix, laser focused on Drake London, hitch route, 38% of his targeted routes were on those in that route deployment from the hitch group. 32 targets, 25 receptions, 68% success rate. So anytime he's doing like the easy shit, making it easy for his quarterback, money, like 68% or better, 68% success or better. Go routes, what's interesting for London, not that many in 2024. One of the things that he excelled at in college wasn't really asked to do that here in 2024. Only 5 receptions on goal balls on 19 targeted routes for Drake London on 49 total routes of go routes. He just ran a bunch of outs and a bunch of hitches, and that makes sense. You got a quarterback with a declining arm and a young quarterback, make things easy. The point of those 2 routes that everybody has to keep like at the forefront, those are quick hitting routes. Quick hitting routes. There's nobody that's being deployed on outs and hitches and being extremely successful like that. That's big and slow. Because you got to turn up. Once you get it, you got to turn up. Let's go to Neighbors real quick so you can see another young receiver who does that a lot and what that looks like for Neighbors. Here it is. His most targeted route for Malik Neighbors, hitch route. 106 routes, 38 targets, 52% success on those routes. So quarterback probably a little poorer than that situation that London had. Out routes, go routes. Top targeted routes for Malik Neighbors in 2024. Hog, hitch, out, go, and then what do I always say? The in-breaking routes, the crossing routes after that. Just keep that shit in mind when you're watching these guys play and look. If Hunter's a full-time receiver, I'm taking him easily over Tet. Ricky One said Drake looks like he has more burst, twitch. Tet looks a bit more fluid, seems smoother out there. Not how sure it translates. Nuts landing spot in the middle of Drake London and a Michael Pittman Jr. I don't want to get to the end yet. I need to pull up some more McMillan. But I was talking to Jay Rich earlier, and he's like, is he more Michael Pittman? I don't think he's Drake London, man. D-Bro, I love you. I'd love for you to jump on here and tell me outside of the size and the big downfield playmaking ability, I'm not seeing that level of burst from McMillan that I saw from Drake London. I don't. And I think Ted is damn good. You don't need to take my opinion on it. He's not as good down the field as Drake London. All the data says it. He's not as efficient down the field as London was. And he didn't get asked to do a lot of short area stuff that you want to see from a lot of your receivers. Let's just compare. Let me give Tet some love here. This is what he had to deal with, okay? Here's his pass placement chart, okay? So these are passes to Tet McMillan from his quarterback, Noah Fafita. Look at this. All over the damn place, right? If we go to Trey Harris or Travis Hunter or Xavier Restrepo, it's all like in the middle. You get a random spray here or there, but this is what he was dealing with. So let's cut Ted a little bit of slack because Noah Fafita was not very good. The purple rings are on short passes too. The yellow rings on the deep passes, the orange rings longer. The purple stuff with the empty boxes, that's short passes Noah Fafita couldn't hit. So we give Ted a little bit of grace for that. Let's just compare him to some of the other some of the other receivers in this class. I know a lot of people like Trey Harris, so I'm gonna pull Trey up. Matthew Golden is another cat that a lot of people are talking about as being a potential wide receiver one in this class. Who did I say? Golden. And I think that's about it. I think it's got to be these three. Travis Hunter, I don't want to put him in here because he plays corner. He's indicated corner. We don't know if he's going to play receiver. But of the like big outside receiver, we could put A.O. Manor in there. But he had such a bad season. It's kind of even unfair to throw him up here. But he's a big body receiver. You look at McMillan this year. The EPA per play, I'm not so much worried about that. Trey Harris's team was so much better than Arizona's. Like that's going to be higher. So I'm not so much worried about that. Yards per target, 9.8 for Tet. Pretty good. I believe that was better than London in his final season. Success rate is where it just bothers me a little bit. 58%, but that's not much lower than Matthew Golden, 61%. Catch rate, Trey Harris caught, damn near 80% of his passes, which is crazy. Golden close to 70%. Tet, 62%, still good, not bad. Catch rate over expected. Like, I like to see this number a little bit higher in this scenario. It makes me feel a little better about Golden that he did a little bit more than what he was expected with what he was given. Explosive plays, Tet lacks that of Trey Harris a little bit, but right there with Matthew Golden. Yak per reception, lower than Golden, lower than Trey Harris. So that's just a little bit of McMillan's overall look this year, but I got Drake's up as well. And London's in his final season wasn't that different from McMillan. So here goes Drake London, his final season. I'll tell you where things differ. EPA per play, ironically, exactly the same. 0.42 for both of those guys. Yards per target, Tet had him, 9.8 to 8.5. Drake London ran a lot more screen routes and underneath routes than Tet McMillan in his final season, and I believe because he was a little better after the catch. I think he was. Success rate, 64%, a little higher for Drake London. Catch rate, 72% for London, 61% for McMillan. All right. Air yards per reception, Tet McMillan had him like doubled up. Tet McMillan, 11 yards to Drake London's 9. The yak after the catch, Drake London, 5.6 yards after the catch per reception. Tet McMillan, 4.8. So Drake London almost a full yard after the catch better than Tet McMillan. So you're saying Drake wishes he was as good as Tet after the catch. Per reception, he was better. Tet McMillan wishes he was good as Drake London after the catch. And here's the one thing that London, another nod that I noticed on tape that London has over McMillan. He's more physical after the catch. Yards after contact, after the reception, Drake London 3.2, Tet McMillan 2.1, which is lower than Trey Harris's 3.8, is lower than Matthew Golden's 3.7 yards after contact per attempt, and then it's lower than Elick Ayomanor. It's lower than all those guys. Drake London, when he's hit, he's bouncing off of cats and picking up an extra yard than Tet McMillan did. Target share, Drake London was the guy. 42% in his final season opposed to 32% for Tet McMillan. So, listen, I showed you some shit, right? You watched a few plays from Drake London in his final season to see how he moves. I think Tet's a really, really good, big-bodied wide receiver that can thrive over the middle of the field and do a lot of the dirty stuff that London really didn't do. I think he can do a lot of different things than Drake London. But when you're talking about literally right now, one of the better wide receivers in the NFL, and he had to carry pretty much that Falcons passing attack solo dolo with no quarterback, dealing with Desmond Ridder for 2 seasons. And then he finally gets an upgrade in Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. And you see him finish top 5 in the NFL in receiving yards. Like that expectation for me is not the type of expectation that I have for Tet. I think Tet is a really, really, really good number 2 wide receiver that can operate in a 1 role if you need him to. But I would love to see him move around in that Z role. I don't think you want to just stick him on the outside and tell him to go run hitches, to go run comeback routes, and to go win vertically down the field. consistently. I think this is a player that you want to put on the move. Can he not be a big power slot wide receiver that's really good? I mean, Devontae Smith is what, an 1,100-yard receiver every single year, pretty much. Like, you can bank on Smitty getting you 1,000 to 1,100 yards. That's great. That's fantastic in the NFL. I'm sure that the Eagles paid him because he's good. And at times, he's had to operate in as the number one receiver and is more than capable of doing that. But when I'm looking at McMillan's total, and I'm being truly honest with myself, and I'm watching London, I'm watching McMillan, I'm looking at the numbers, predicting the draft capital, listening to the analyst. When I see Ted, I see a really, really, really good number two wide receiver. I don't see a guy that an NFL OC is going to build an offense around. Like, the Bengals built an offense around Jamar Chase. The Vikings have built an offense around Jefferson, Dallas and CD, the Lions and Amon-Ra. They've built a passing attack around things that fit his skill set. I think that you want Tech coming into a situation like a Dallas. Would love him to land in Dallas to where he can complement some of the things that CD does well, that he can go complement, another in LA with Lad McConkey. I know 22 is blasphemous that he falls there, but that would be great. If he lands in Carolina at 8, I'm sure they're going to try to feed him like the number one, but I don't know if Jalen Coker's not better at getting down the field than him at this very, very moment in time. I think he's an excellent wide receiver, a safe wide receiver, a proven wide receiver, but he to me, I'm not seeing those type of things that make me have the same type of feeling that had me unequivocally high on London versus Garrett Wilson, London versus Chris Olave. Like, Ted ain't even up against them dudes. Drake London has serious competition for that wide receiver one spot coming out, and he claimed it over Garrett, over Olave, over George Pickens. I'm not so sure that Tet fits that mold, even though I like him a lot. And I do think he's the best receiver in this class, but I'm not going Drake London. I do not believe he's as good as Drake London was coming out of college, USC in 2021. I don't believe that. I'm gonna go to chat. How much does Tet's 300-yard game versus New Mexico skew his numbers, or not at all? I mean, he did the work, right? Like, he put in work against New Mexico. He blasted them. He put a lot of good shit on wax in that game. I'm not gonna knock him for that. I'm not gonna knock him for that. But there's context there. Like, like, damn, he had 300 yards versus New Mexico week 1. But he's good, man. He's good. I think Tet is. I think Tet is the same level of prospect as BTJ. Obviously, different skill sets, but same prospect. Not at all. Not even close. I don't believe so at all. Let me pull up BTJ shit from last year. I don't think he's Brian Thomas at all. He doesn't the explosiveness, number one, and I was very, very high on BTJ, a lot higher than most. I don't think he's Brian Thomas Jr. at all. I'm gonna pull up while I'm looking that up. Y'all get at me in the chat. I appreciate the comment, but nah. Seth Howard, Golden is one. Ball is life. I think Tech can sink his hips and change direction better than people think. I mean, you can say that, but the success on those type of routes where you got to sink your hips and do that stuff, he didn't show it. Like, all I'm doing, you don't got to agree, disagree. I'm just showing you what he did and what he did not do and what he was asked to do versus what he wasn't asked to do. And if he was that good at sinking his hips and changing direction, I would think they would try to prioritize him on some of these routes right here, where he had 8 routes on the flat, 8 routes on the screenplay. Like, I think they would prioritize him to do some of those things, or you'd see higher success on some of the short routes, like the hitch routes. 9% of his targets were on those short, quick routes. A lot of his stuff came on in-breaking routes, using his body over the middle of the field. Over half of his yards came on that, like those digs and those over routes. Then he had the go routes down the field. other than that, it's hard to really say what his specialty is outside of going over the middle of the field and downfield stuff. I don't know if it's as fluid and he's breaking down and sinking his hips as good as some people think. Cody Smith, Fantasy Draft Room said, still love Tet, but there's no one coming up as a top 12 wide receiver in this class. Yeah, I think I'd have him outside of the top 12 right now as well. Like if I had to put that on wax right now, do I think he's a top 12 wide receiver? No. No. I think he's real good, but not top 12 and definitely not. In my opinion, he's more Michael Pittman, which is really good, than he is Drake London. And I've said London early on. T Higgins, I can even go for some T. How much of his situation is propelled by Joe Burrow and how good Burrow is? Probably a lot, but I could go look at this. Okay. So Tet, I'm just using the fucking data. Like I'm just reading what's happening. I'm gonna pull up Brian Thomas and what his route deployment was and how he looked in his final season. This is BTJ. BTJ's final year at LSU. He ran a bunch of go routes, a bunch of hitch routes. 77 goes, 78 hitch routes, 45 post routes, which is insane, just going over the field. Dig routes, crazy. Let's just look at the EPA per target on those go routes. I mean, this is nuts. On his 16 targets on go routes, 2.64 EPA per target, 521 yards, just being explosive down the field with a 50% success rate. 50% success rate on his go routes. I'm looking at Tet on his 22 targets, 42% success rate, negative zero point 0.4 EPA per target. I mean, BTJ was a downfield monster final season. Hitch routes for BTJ, which I love seeing. 23% of his targets when he was running routes was like an NFL route, like one of the most deployed NFL routes there can be. And BTJ had 130 yards on hitch routes in his final season. And then his post route, well, where's his out route? They didn't run a lot with Jaden Daniels that year, but positive EPA on his out routes. I don't believe Ted is nearly as explosive as Brian Thomas Jr. was in his final season going down the field. What do we have? Stanley said that's all I needed to hear. Don't buy the hype, draft your team. Ward over Tat. Stanley, that's all I needed to hear. Spartan, what's good, Ray? What's good with y'all? BTJ also had Daniels. It's hard to compare their targets. Well, what the fuck do you want us to do then? You know what I'm saying? If we can't evaluate the player when they have a good quarterback, but then you got to make excuses when they have a bad quarterback. So what do you need? If you want to go with average Eddie, then Matthew Golden should be the one because they had an average quarterback. Like we're just comparing what the team asked the player to do. You can judge the quarterback based on the EPA, based on the success rate, but what is QB independent that has nothing to do with the QB is what the team asked the player to do. The player's not going to ask a guy that can't run a go route, that can't convert those downfield targets to keep doing it. They're going to ask the player that has the success at doing those things to run those type of things, to do those type of routes. So when you're talking about just trying to compare something, sure, that's why we're not beating him up over the EPA. I'm talking about how good BTJ was with his targets on his team. He smashed. And I don't believe an appropriate. If we're not going Drake London for Tet McMillan, I'm damn sure not going to give you Brian Thomas Jr. Ray's not afraid. Nah, man, Daniel knows what's going on. What's up, Daniel? What's up, Daniel? Tyson in the building. Real excited to see where Tet lands. Me too. Like I'm not here to bash on Tet McMillan. I'm not here. But what I am trying to do is get y'all people to adjust your expectations. Just adjust your expectation. Like he's going to come in and get 140 targets. If so, great. But I hope to God that that's not what you think is going to happen. He ain't getting 140 targets in Dallas. He ain't getting 140 in Dallas. I honestly, and I'm not trying to act like I got all the insider information with the Panthers, but when I look at their offense right now with Thielen, with Coker, with Leggett, is he getting 140 in Carolina out the gate? And if he doesn't, what I don't want people to do is be like, oh, he sucks now because he didn't have 1,300 yards out the gate. Come on, man. Adjust your expectations. He's a really, really good player. I would love to hear outside of size, this perceived downfield ability, which Drake London was just better down the field than Tet. I don't care who says it, how you slice it. London was much better as a downfield option in significantly less time than Tet McMillan was. And London's QB play was Keaton Slovis and young Jackson Dart. He was better down the field. He was better in short areas. Where Tet thrived was over the middle of the field. Very good over the middle of the field and was able to get downfield and produce some yards. I just question in the fact that we didn't. I don't even care about his 40. I want to see more route diversity and more route success from McMillan, and I think we'll figure that out real quickly by the team that drafts him. I think the team that drafts him, we will find out really quickly what their plan is for a very unique player, a player where you don't see a lot of 6'4" wide receivers in the NFL, especially getting drafted this being talked about being drafted this high. We'll know sooner rather than later what the NFL and that team thinks about him. But today, where I sit, looking at all the numbers, looking at, you know, who's doing what across the NFL, it's hard for me to go Drake London. I see more USC Michael Pittman than I do in Drake London's game. Last question. I don't want my pick on the screen again. Who's your wide receiver one of this class? Daniel, we're putting you back up. I don't give a damn if you don't want your pitcher back up. It's back. Holding that bass on that pitcher. Wide receiver one is Ted. Ted. But I'm fine with Pitt. I'm fine with a Devontae Smith production outcome. Let me go look up Smitty real quick. Would anybody be upset? Some of y'all probably would. But let me just say, if Ted McMillan went out there and the first 4 years of his career looked like this, if the first 4 years of his career looked like this, 2,000-yard seasons, one of them almost 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns every single year, 7 over the last 3 years, each year, 80-plus receptions damn near every year outside of this year where he missed a couple of games. And he probably would have gone for over 1,000 again this year had he played in those 4 games that he missed, or at least give him 3 more games. He's over 1,000 yards. I'd be happy with this. Some of y'all's expectations are this though. You think you're about to get this fucking guy, and maybe you do. But I'm not anticipating Ted McMillan going 1455, 1050 in 12 games, 1216 and 1708. Like that, my expectations are not that. You know what I'm saying? My expectations are not for him to be, hell, even CD. Even CD, 900, 11, 13, 17, 12. Like that's high-end shit. 150 targets, 180, 120, and you're telling me that he's going to get 140 out the gate? Your expectation is wrong. The expectation for his successful outcome needs to be adjusted. Pull up London numbers. London is a good one. If he can do this, you'd be so happy. Right? London, first 2 years, 866, 905, 1271. Y'all hated this Drake London, though. Y'all hated this. This was the Drake London y'all was sick of. Fucking London, man. 900 yards, 800 yards. Then he finally give you 12 and you're still kind of, but don't cut. Y'all hated this London. 905 and 2, 866 and 4. Y'all be ready to throw Ted off a ship. Full-fledged mutiny if this was Ted McMillan year 1. 866. Goddamn, Panthers wasted a pick. Yeah, let's go to Marv. Remember the generational one, and we'll kind of wrap up right here. Marv had Marv had 116 targets, 885 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Y'all want y'all. You'd rather turn the pick back in. Can we get the hell up out? Can we? This dude's a bust. Nowhere near the guy we thought he was. Again, adjust your expectation level. Cam said, I told people Nabels was better. Tyson says this feels like a good year to not need wide receiver in rookie drafts. I'll take them if they fall, but would much rather be in spots to take running backs. Scott Connor over on our other channel, DDFFB, has been talking about this for weeks. 4 weeks. Donnie says, shout out to Donnie, man. Donnie's been on every evening stream. What's up, Donnie? If he could be 900 to 1100 with a few spike years at 12 to 13, it would be great. Not everyone in a 1, just the way it is. Yeah? 900 to 1100 yards is probably would be a really good outcome for him. I think that's a really good outcome. And I'm not even going to throw in a few spike years at 12 to 13. If that comes, that's the cherry on top. That's the cherry on top. But out the gate, let me pull up Pittman and we'll get up out of here on that. Outside of this year, outside of this year, and in this year is as shit as it was in Indianapolis, he still had damn near the same amount of yards as Devontae Smith. Same amount of receptions, 69, 808 yards. Year before that, 156 targets, 1,100, 925, 1082. 100 receptions back-to-back years and sandwiched in between that. Would this be bad? He's not fucking Jamar Chase. He's not Chase. He's not Neighbors. He's not Marv. He's not Brian Thomas Jr. He's a really good receiver. I don't believe he's Drake London. I respect everyone's take who thinks he plays similar to London. I don't think he's London. I don't care what he runs in the 40. The tape don't lie. London was a dog. That final season, he was wreaking havoc on everybody in the Pac-12 when everyone knew he was going to get the ball. Same situation as Tetairoa McMillan. In the Pac-12, nobody else around. Everyone knew he was going to get the ball. And London was a little more dominant in that final season in limited duty. And we've seen him in the NFL grow to do the things that NFL receivers, and I can go on any name, I bet you all of the top stuff looks the same for Jamar Chase. Let's go to let's see Jets. And what's cool about some of these dudes, their route inventory is just so deep. It's so deep. CeeDee Lamb in 2024 is most deployed routes, hitch route at the top. It's everybody's in the NFL. It's like that's what they do. Hitch route. You better be good after the catch. Number 1 out route. Number 1 deployed route, but not the most targeted route for CD. If we flip that up, hitch routes, crossing routes, go routes down there at 17. No quarterback, so they're not going to do that. Quick shit. There goes your crossers, your slants, hitches at the top for CDE. What else do we want to look at quickly? Sutton was another name that he's one of the ones where he runs a lot of, he gets targeted on a lot of in-breaking routes. So you've got 17 targets on ends, slants for Cortland Sutton. His highest targeted route, hitches and crossers. So this was another one. I was like, okay, they deploy Cortland Sutton over the middle of the field. You see his heat map right there as well. A lot of crossing routes. So for a number 1 wide receiver, this is the first one where there was a tie for the number 1 routes. It's the hitch, the go, and then the crossing route for Sutton, which I could see like as your move Z player. If this is McMillan, I'd love for him to do this crossing routes, those over routes, those cross routes, those hitch routes. Cortland Sutton was a name that made me think, oh, I could see some Cortland Sutton in this game. Let's look at Marv. The fuck did Marv run this year? Go routes, 30 targeted go routes. Maybe we should do something other than, and look at this, right? Like, is this the QB or is this the player? Success rate, 20% on those. 30 targets, 6 receptions, crosses, hitches, and outs. So there goes your hog. Your hitch, out, go. Routes, I bet you it's, out, hitch, cross, go route right there for Marv in 24. Let's look at BTJ. What did BTJ do in Jacksonville? An out route monster. Hog routes. Hitch, 83 routes. Out route, 102. Go route, 55. Those were the 3 routes where he had over 20 targets. Hitch, out, go. See all the other stuff right there. So you better be able to be proficient at those things. And you see his success rate on go routes double that of Marvin year one, 40.9% to that 20%. And there goes Jets right there. Jets is probably just does everything, right? Justin Jefferson, out, hitch, in, go. So he's in breaking routes. He's going over the middle of the field too. 11 post routes, crossing routes, screen plays. Just the diversity of routes for Jefferson and the deployment is just unreal. And then look at his success. Everything above 50%. Like, it doesn't matter. Awesome. Incredible wide receiver. Not that you need me to tell you that, but it's fun looking through some of this. Let's look at old Pittman. Did we look at Pittman yet? I think we looked at Pittman. Ladd. Let's look at Ladd. His fit in LAC with Ladd McConkey. What did Ladd run? He ran the out route, the hitch route, and a bunch of go routes. Not as successful on the outs. 25 targets. Doesn't it make sense? Think about it, people. Think about Ladd McConkey's game. Why do you think it'd be advantageous just for him to run up the field, turn around, and just throw it to him? That's your hitch, man. Make it easy. Make it easy. 25 targets, 17 receptions on hitches. And then the slant route, the crossing route, nothing down the field, 7 receptions on go balls. So this could be a spot where they need a downfield threat. And I would prioritize, you would peg him in doing some of that stuff. The post routes, the in-breaking routes, the go routes. Ladd didn't do a lot of that. He only had 15 post routes that he ran this year. Only 30 in-breaking routes, doubled up on the hitches and the outs. Get him outside. We don't want Ladd going over the middle of the field. Can't have him doing a bunch of that. Tyreek runs down the field a lot. Just look at Tyreek quickly. Post, out, cross, hitch, go. Down year for Tyreek. Go to chat, see what y'all are talking about. What did Addison do? They signed Mike Williams. Who signed Mike Williams? Who signed Mike Will? Yeah, London. Yeah, Cameron said it. London was going ballistic that final season of college. OMG. Yeah, people forget. Like, I got the USC helmet in the back, but I think people forget just how good old Drake London was that final season. Let's rattle off those numbers for completeness of the narrative here. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, fuck. 12 for 137, 4 for 68 and a touchdown, stinker. 13 for 170, 10 for 165, 9 for 130, 16 for 162, 15 for 171. In the game he got hurt versus Arizona, and I believe he got hurt before half, he had 9 for 81 and 2 touchdowns. Done before Halloween. 88 catches, 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns. On a shit team. Carrying a 4-4 roster. On his back. Like, come on, man, put some respect on Drake's name. Ladd has Mike Williams now. Oh, boy. All right. Tet McMillan. Draft profile. Good player. More than anything, I just wanted to talk some ball with y'all. Again, I'm going to pull up this final one. Just what was he asked to do? What was Ted asked to do this year versus Drake? We watched some tape. This was McMillan. Very good down the field, go routes. I know the EPA per target pretty low, but almost 200 yards on go routes, 42% success rate. Hitch routes, at least he ran a lot of them. Wasn't targeted on bunch, 13 targets, And in those hitch routes, 25% target share. Where he was commanding it, like the routes where Tet McMillan went out there and commanded it. when he slant routes, 57%. The dig routes, 50%. So anytime he ran a dig, coin flip, he was getting it. He was getting it. Deep out, screen. He's only got 8 of those, so I really don't count that. And then 27% here on the over route. Like, of the routes that he actually ran, more than 25 of them, the dig route and the over route were his 2 most successful routes in 2024. Good down the field. My theory is I just suspect that some of the lack of targets and the lack of success on the hitch and the curls and some of the screen plays, even right here, he had 75% target share on those screens. He had 2 yards on his 6 screen targets. He had -1 yards on his 1 flat route. This just leads me to believe a little bit, especially when I go look at London, right? This is Drake London on those just short things. 20 targets, 16%, yeah, 87% target. Like, when they're throwing the screw, giving it to you. Positive EPA, positive yardage on those. Good play, successful play rate. The flat routes, 12 targets, 80% target share, 66 yards. Slant routes, 62 yards on those. Those comeback. Based on what the type of route is, I think London's he's a little better after the catch. He's got a little more quick twitch ability than that of Tet McMillan. Even though Ted's dope, I think London's got a little more quick twitch ability. And as evidenced by when he's going down the field, I mean, he's just absolutely dominating McMillan in that category. EPA per target, yardage wise, all that good stuff. But not as good on those. He didn't run anything over the middle of the field. Not much. Not a lot of in-breaking routes, not a lot of over routes, not a lot of that stuff for Drake London. And you don't see him doing a lot of that in the NFL. We already know. He led 546 routes, and he's running a bunch of hitches and a bunch of out routes. So I use this stuff to sort of theorize in my own way what archetype of receiver is. I'm not just looking at their size and all of that shit. Like, what did the college ask him to do? Where did they show proficiency? Where did they show a deficiency? And how do I believe that player is going to translate to the next level? Tet McMillan, really good wide receiver. Wide receiver 1 in the class for me, no doubt. He is the wide receiver 1 in the class for me, but I am not expecting him to walk into the NFL and be Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, none of those guys. I think a nice Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman outcome would be great, and anything on top of that would be a cherry on top. So we're just talking ball for an hour. I got damn London and Tet McMillan. Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Did not know Ladd McConkey was going to the Chargers. Love talking through wide receivers. Can't wait to get some of these guys in our Trinity tracker on the website, DD Fantasy Football. Appreciate anybody pulling up to the stream after the fact. Hit the thumbs up button. Like the content. Comment below. Let me know what you think about Tet. Let me know what you think about London. Let me know what you think about this wide receiver class. And as always, stay locked in to the other channel, DDFFB, for fantasy football content. Jay Rich and I will be talking fantasy football winners and losers on Bleacher Report tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So pull up on Bleacher Report. I appreciate y'all. Have a good night.